Well, that was an adventure. Transmission actually came out really easily. Hope you can hear me above the fan. It's a balmy 85 and extremely humid here in Connecticut. This May 2nd, 3rd? What are we, 3rd? May 3rd, 2025. All things considered, it wasn't that bad. I noted, at least I think I did, on an earlier video segment, there was a bolt that went vertically down into the bearing of the transmission mounts on the side for the SLS. This is now modified. Can't say verbatim, but I do believe I've seen a video with the bolt there. So I believe earlier on I said you're going to take out a bolt. There's two, and they go in through the frame. All right. Rear cover, gear set, it's in here. And then of course you've got your actual axles are connected here, and your clutch is in this segment. So we're going to do this completely according to the repair manual. And we're going to be using this tool. Some of you may have seen some other videos. Hollywood Mechanic shows some samples. I think there may be another video or two, but it still just blows my mind that there is not enough videos showing how this is done. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a certified mechanic. I am a DIYer, a very informed, very resourceful DIYer with a great deal of tools. Each one of these bars is going to be mounted on these 4 holes here, and they're going to be holding on to this tab and this tab, and then this tab, and there's one on the other side. There are no gaskets in this transmission. This is held together with Loctite, basically like a gasket maker. And this is all going to have to get scraped off and cleaned up with heptane when this is apart. Now this is still dusty. This has got some grime on it. This has to get cleaned. I will not open up this transmission and have any chance of this material falling into the case. 16 bolts. They're really, really easy to remove. No, that one's already loose. That one's already loose. That one's already loose. I loosened them earlier just to see what they were for tension. That one. Is there any bolt here that I didn't loosen? No, that one. Come on. I just want to show how easily. That one. Okay, this one's. That was it. Loose. I mean, we're not talking about an incredible amount of torque here. I've got stoppers in here to keep my inlets. This is the coolant. These are hydraulic lines. Keep those nice and clean. And I already took out the circlip that goes in here. So the circlips here, they do not have the holes in the clip. You're going to need to get these circlip pliers that are flat to grab the clip and press out. And this is actually a little bit tricky. There's some notes that you got to really keep track of the circlips because they're different thicknesses. So what I'm doing is I'm going to bag each one and then write down its location of where it is. And then I used a marker, and anything that's on the outside facing me, I just put a little mark with a permanent marker on that so I can put it on the same exact way that it's coming out. So we're going to remove all of these bolts all the way around, and I'm in my barn, so I need to go back to the garage and get some of my tools to get cracking, as they might say. We're going to be cracking it open. Once this is off, you'll see the gear set, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to take off the mounts too. We don't need them. They're going to be in my way. And yep, we'll get those off too. Okay, I'll be back in a little while. I'm going to explain more about how these tools are going to be used. This bracket, this driver, each one of those forks, and this are all specifically to get the rear cover off. Yeah. To get the different bearings and races in, we're going to use those and this, and the rest are for removal. So I'll show you how we're going to be using this. I'll show you how we're going to be using this. This is for the gear set. It's in the gearbox. And we're also going to show you how to use these rods and what this does. This is for our neutral. So I'll show that to you too. I'm going to get this together, and this is taking up like 60% of my workbench. So I'm going to get this together and put this box back on the ground. And yeah, we'll go from there. I wanted to show how this tool goes on. This is not permanent. I still have to adjust it. Every one of these jaws here need to be flush. See how that's not flush? Now it is. We don't want to put any pressure on those tabs that's uneven. That one's okay too. Ooh, that one is not okay. Now, you hear that? Perfect. Now we're tight. Every one of these needs to be even. You can decipher what even would be by figuring out what's sticking out on the backside. Can only get so close. All right, so we're going to shoot for about 20 millimeters from the frame to the edge of the bolt. I'm going to go all the way around and make sure they're all adjusted like that. So when I put torque on this center post, it's going to pull on everything independently and evenly. That's what we're going, and that's what we're doing next. All right, adjustments are made. Yeah, we're about 20. 20. Yeah. So I'm just going from the frame, the back of the frame to the end of the bolt. Doesn't have to be precise, but I want to get as close to that 20 millimeter mark as possible. This seems like a good marking point. You don't have to go with 20 millimeters. If you want to back these bolts all the way to this end and then lock it in place, probably, I guess in hindsight, the easier thing to do. Put these right to the end, tighten this so it's locked in place, and then the only thing you need to do is just control it with your center bolt. So the manual explicitly says, while turning it, to tap on the ends with a rubber mallet, which is something I will be doing. And I will record that, probably just speed it up until it's done. So that is next. Okay, we're going to start working this cover out. I'm going to take off the E-diff pipe here first, and that will free up anything that is connected to the cover, and off to the races. I'm going to use a small punch and a harder rubber mallet to punch these ends until that seal is broken, and we'll get this cover opened up. There we go. There it is. Got some separation. I will need to work my way around. Yep, that'll come down here. It's going to be a tight fit. Okay. Okay, let's get this cover off. At this stage, you've got enough of a opening here where a little bit of penetrating oil on this pin, on that pin, and the one on the other side down towards the bottom would be very helpful. Also, I forgot to mention, make sure you lubricate your bolt here. It will make the turning it much easier. So put a little bit of penetrating oil on this too. Cover is off. First thing you might notice is this little guy here, and you're going to say, what the heck is that? It's probably covered in thick black residue. This is a magnet. The magnet goes in this channel. If you can see, I'll put it in a little bit, put it in halfway. Oh, need to turn the camera. Right there. And that collects all of the little wear and tear of the transmission and the filings. So we want to make sure that we clean this really well. I already cleaned it a little bit, and that's what came off. So we are going to spend a little more time on cleaning that. This is the cover, and I'm going to go over some of these components here in a little bit. This here is the shaft that we were just pushing on, and that is this right here. So, yeah, we're in good shape. We're exactly where we need to be. Now we're going to start removing these gear sets so we can get to the seal, which is back there. Before I continue, I wanted to show you something I created here. So this is an old 2-ring binder, old clipboard. I don't know, this has got to be from the 1930s, 1940s. Anyway, I've had this for a long time, but attached to it was the Triumph file. I left it. I thought that was kind of fun. We will triumph. Lift here to release. All right, so I created this from a variety of bulletins from Ferrari. Ferrari uses this exact transmission. And there are a couple little variations with a few of the Ferrari models, but that's actually reflected in these creations here. So each bulletin number is listed here in these table of contents. I will post this online, and there will be a link at the bottom. It will probably be to like a Google Drive or something to that effect, so I can offer this kind of indefinitely for everybody who wants to DIY this repair. So, Bulletin 2619, remove the SAP. Bulletin 20, okay, let me back up. This is not the title of the bulletin, okay? Title of the bulletin, this is my own, I put this in here specifically for the step. Every single one says the page numbers and then the step and what we're going to do. You're going to see that some of these actually start in the middle of the bulletin, page 91. Lower down, page 24, page 99. So there's segments of the bulletin specifically for these seals. And the reason why I had to do this, each bulletin was like, replace the SAP, replace the CCP, find some leaks, take the rear cover off, and put new 5970, around the edges, clean it with heptane. All right. This is a conglomeration of all of those bulletins, step by step, and I have all of my tabs below to make this complete. So, bulletin 2619, remove the SAP. 2330, remove the rear cover. 2621, remove the gear set and separate the case. At that point, we're going to replace the radial shaft seals. 2621, reinstall the gear set and reattach the case. 2330, reinstall the back cover. 2619, reinstall the SAP. 2619 again, continuation, pressure check. At that point, we're going to reinstall the DCT into the car and then install the fluids per the workshop manual. I have access to how to install the fluids, but not in written form. There's actually a video I was able to find that shows how it's done. I'm going to put that into written form and then add that to the back of this when I make this into a PDF. I'm not there yet. I still have all of this to do. So we're going to start. Now, I've created this one on purpose, right? So I can hang this up here. And every time I finish a step, I can just flip the page and move it over. This PDF, you can print it 2 pages if you want to put it into a 3-ring binder and then do left to right that way. It's just, this is smaller space. I don't have to worry about losing workbench space here. It's going to be up above me, and that's going to work just fine for my needs. So yeah, let's get to the repair. Following the manual here, make sure I give you the right information. 2619, 2619 figure 5, page 14. There are explicit instructions to not remove that bolt, and that bolt, and that bolt. I put an X on them just so I can be certain. We are going to be removing, so actually we don't need to do anything on the clutch side. Everything's going to be on the gearbox side. So this plate right here, the SAP is mounted onto this. We're going to actually break this seal right here. Maybe I don't like using the word break. How about we're going to crack that seal? Crack? I don't like crack either. We're going to separate these 2 cases right here. And there are these tabs. There's one here, there's one here. I'm going to put a crowbar on this once everything is, all the bolts are undone. I have to do the bolts on the top here as well. And then the bolts along the bottom, following the instructions. They actually outline removing them in a certain order. I don't necessarily know why, but anyway, I digress. So I'm going to continue around, I believe, yep, the top bolts are next. And then we are going to be going to the bottom. Okay, so we're going to keep on going. In the manual, by the way, I'm putting every bit necessary for each figure, so you don't have to go and search around for the bits and figure out what you're going to be doing. These are all a T45. Like a glove. T45s. All the way around. All right, so we're going to keep removing these. Keep track of your bolts. You'll notice the difference if you stop rolling. Difference in length between these 2. So these longer bolts, I just removed from the top. I'm putting them into a bag. I labeled top of case shell, page 14, figure 6. And that is exactly my reference point in case I can't figure out where they came from. So there's that. These are shorter. These actually should be, for the most part, the same all the way around. These are going through just this shell only. So it looks like they penetrate, just shy of an inch, 25 millimeters, somewhere in there. Up at the top, you're actually going through the gearbox and through the shell into the differential housing. So I will take all of these out and then label that accordingly as well, so I can track all of my bolts. All of the bolts that are fastening the sorry, I just got distracted. all the bolts that are fastening the gearbox to the interface plate and to the differential casing here are all undone. You would notice that there's a part of the instructions for removing these. It shows bolts for one step or nuts. So this case has 2 nuts on there. Some of them may have bolts. I made a note in the instruction manual, and that will be included in the PDF. So we are actually now able to separate the case. We're going to be using this area here with a crowbar, and then coming over here, we can do the same thing right here. Carefully, you want to put just enough pressure to release the adhesive that's holding the interface plate to the differential housing. I have to get the differential apart before I can remove the gearbox to get to the radial shaft seals. There's a connection, I will show you, in the differential that is kind of connecting these two together. What first has to be done, this is the flange. There's this rubber cap on the front, so it's got this metal shim on the inside, but it's rubber in the center. So you can use a punch a hole, and then just pop that out. And that comes out with no issues. The instructions are very explicit about this bolt holding this flange on. So there's thread lock on the end of this. And apparently it's happened enough where if you go to loosen this with a number 8 Allen socket, if you're loosening it and you start to feel some tension and you continue, that thread lock is going to bunch up and then you're going to snap this. And that's a problem. In the manual, it actually shows, hold up, where's that page? So here, it actually shows to weld on basically a top of a bolt head onto that flange bolt and then take it off that way. So best to be very careful. So loosen it until you feel tension, then tighten it. 1 full turn, half a turn, somewhere in that range. See if when you loosen it again, it's going to come loose. This bolt was actually really kind to me. I did feel a little tension, and out of precaution, I did loosen it, but it came out with no problems. To get this out, the manual says use the AV8609 tool. It's $350 for this very basic tool, and it's only available, from what I could tell, in Europe right now. So shipping for that's probably going to be $400. I don't even know. This, oh, actually I forgot to tell you. Yeah, let me back up. To get the flange out, you're going to use this tool. Now, this was part of an Orion blind hole collet bearing race and seal puller set. So the threads for this matches the bolt holes on the flange perfectly. Yeah, it's the same thread, the same pitch, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, a couple hard smacks on the hammer, the flange will slide right out. So no problems there. So next, part of that same kit, and I'll share the link for that on the bottom. It's a $40, $50 kit on Amazon. This set here can go inside of this seal, and I will tighten down these arms, bring them here, and when I crank this, it will actually pull that seal out for me. This is all part of that $40, $50 kit on Amazon, and this works just fine. So I'm going to remove this. This is part of this differential process, and then this cover has to come off. All right, after cranking this down, there we go. Got some drippage. It's going to happen. Anyway, next we're going to pull out some of the inner components here, and I'll show how that's done in a few minutes. Just need to gather the rest of the tools. The differential is out, This is actually not really all that difficult, to be honest. First of all, there's no sealant around here. So nothing is, this isn't like it's sealed or glued on, right? There's an O-ring inside of the cover that sits inside of this recess. And that O-ring is what keeps this from leaking. Now, I can't get, so earlier in one of those videos, one of the prior segments, I guess you can say, I said there's something that's holding these two, a differential housing and then the gearbox together. This bracket has to come off. So these two bolts right here need to come off. That bracket is holding this ring on, and that requires a special tool. That is not a tool that I currently possess. It looks like a cage that goes over there, and the actual tool number for the moment is escaping me. Hold on. Nope. I got it right here. AV8619. Yep. Need to get that. So, from what I understand, it connects into each one of these little holes. There's 4 of them that goes around there, and then this ring can come off, and that will free this case. So then I can separate the two. One thing that's really crucial, there's nothing holding this in right now. This is the shaft that goes to the driver's side flange. I could push this straight out, but I don't want to. So I'm going to leave that right there. When I put the differential back in, I will likely use a strap or something to secure that other side in so it doesn't get pushed out when I push it back out. There will be some pins that I'm going to install. There'll be 2 pins. I don't remember which hole. I don't necessarily think it matters, but they're supposed to be opposite sides. So let's say this mounting bolt hole and perhaps this one down here. So those are guide pins. So everything goes on level and even. And yeah. So we need to get us, what did I say? 8619, AV8619. Going to investigate that a little bit, and we'll go from there. One thing really important. When you're going through the manual, it says for Berlinetta only. Actually, for F12 Berlinetta, Monza SP1, Monza SP2, and the 812 Superfast. The instructions tell you to get the differential apart so you can get in here, get that bracket off, and get this ring off. I believe, don't quote me, but I believe that's the one exception for the difference between this transmission on the AMG GT series and the Berlinetta. There are other factors to the Berlinetta. I think that's got a cooler on the back, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to investigate this 8619, see if we can get that ring off, and then get these separated. Actually, from there on out, it's get them separated, remove the SAP, take the gears out. Not all of them, but take the gears out and continue on. All right. We'll see you in a bit. And there you have it, one AV8619. Here's something that's very interesting. The inner diameter of this is too narrow to fit on the pinion gear or around the pinion gear to get onto the ring nut, as it's labeled, which tightens into the threads around the SAP shell. And so I had to take it to a machine shop, and I had to have the inside shaved down. Gosh, I don't know, 2 millimeters each side, something like that. I'm actually going to mock up. I'm going to make my own. Ordered some pipe, some pins. Actually, I have a really great idea for putting a bolt on there that will pass through this channel, this shaft, which is open on the other side, and put a spring on that that bolt will allow the tool to stay secure instead of flopping around. Now, this is only supposed to be tightened with 30. I have to refer back to the manual, but I think it's 30 Newton. Is it 30 Nm? I think it's 30. I'd have to check. Don't quote me on that. I'll get back to you. Anyway, like $300 tool. I had to modify it. Go figure. Anyway, first thing I tell you to do is to remove the O-ring. I left the O-ring in there for now because I have to get a little Tupperware to put these parts in. I'm putting everything kind of in their own little container so I can keep track of everything. But the oil pump spindle comes out from here and it just pulls out. That's all. Just pull it out, put it aside, and there is your SAP shell. Next step is going to be to place a punch on the park lock alignment pin here. Once I get a chance to poke around here a little bit more and understand the nuances of the park lock alignment pin, I will get this set up and then I'll show you what we're doing. All right, so we're going to use a punch to hit out the park lock alignment pin right here. Put this plywood underneath here so when I'm hitting on this, it doesn't put too much pressure on the arm. And then once the pin is out, I'm going to retrieve it from the bottom and we're going to lift the actuator bracket out vertically. Right here, I'm going to pull out that actuator bracket. There you go. Wasn't too bad. Put that over here. I can remove my plywood. And now we're going to take out the arm. Okay. Put that over there with the rest of the SAP components. There are 4 bolts identified on here, and I'm going to mark them in the video. These are the bolts that we have to remove. It says here, remove the 4 screws indicated, retrieving the screw itself and the relative washers with the magnet, figure 23. This is SAP. This is 2619, right here at the top. Undo the 3 screws indicated fastening the SAP. Undo the 2 screws indicated fastening the SAP, figure 25. So I'm going to locate these screws. Now, props to Micah over at Hollywood Mechanic in California. He shows an interesting video. It's membership only, but if you join, you can see that if you take out the screws in here, apparently there's a washer in the bottom of the screw, and that washer doesn't come up with the screw. But as he indicates, put a little bit of pressure and tilt your bit as you're taking the screw out. That washer should come with it. I believe he was showing that component, but it looks like it's for all 4. So that's what we're going to do. There are 4 screws to remove in each one of these housings. This is TI 2619. You're going to find this on page 20. This is identified in the manual that I've supplied with a link down below. You are going to need a Torx 25 for each one of these locations here inside. Now, here's the thing. There's a washer on each one of these bolts. So when we take this out, where's my trusty magnet? Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. Where did I put you? Well, okay. There it is. I'm going to put my magnet onto my Torx. So when I pull out the bolt, the washer should be attached to it as well. I marked each one of these with a black marker on the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to need a Torx 30. These black bolts up in the top are holding the SAP to the SAP shell. 1, 2, up at the top, and then 1 down here, 1 here, and then 1 there. Yeah, that's what's holding it on. And then the SAP can come off. Be careful when taking this off, because I think they're like $3,500 new, something outrageous like that. Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna turn off the video. You don't need to see me taking off a bunch of bolts and wasting your time. T25, 1, 2, 3, 4. T30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These interior screws are being... Screws themselves aren't stubborn. I tried the idea of putting the magnet on the end of the Torx. Doesn't work so well. So, I'm not entirely sure that these washers are pure steel, because I'll tell you, I mean, even the bolts, well, no, maybe they are. Anyway, if you pull out the screw and the washer's not coming out, don't think for even a moment that the washer's not in there, because it is. They have to come out. So, just putting a magnet on the end of a screwdriver here, and that seems to work. Don't lose the screws. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've got 4 screws and 4 washers. So we are in the right. We're on the right path. These take some effort to get out. Well, okay, the ones, that wasn't so bad. Yeah, that one's not bad either. I don't know if there's a thread lock on those. I'll have to take a look. Let's see about the reassembly instructions. But these aren't so bad. No, these aren't bad. The other ones inside of these shafts, if I understand correctly, I believe that each one of these is connected to, yeah, so on the other side here is the neutral pins. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but I have to get the SAP off. So I'll take off 1, 2, 3, 4. Take off these 5, and then the SAP can come off. I'm going to put it in a very safe spot so we can take care of it. All right, I'll get these off, and then I'll show you how the SAP comes off. All right, I have 5 bolts from around the housing. I'm putting them in these Ziploc bags and labeling each one. I've got 4 bolts from each side of each one of these shafts. I've got 4 washers. And I'm going to label, sure, the last one I'm trying to pick up and put in the bag is being stubborn. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll show that in a moment. There's a couple of pins that are holding the SAP in place right now, so that's why it's not falling down. So I'm going to grab it from the bottom on the housing with my right hand, and then carefully with my left, going to just gently slide it off. There's the SAP. Oh, you know what? I gotta take off the this tube on the bottom. All right, the SAP is gonna slide right off. You have to remove the this is the oil return pipe. This has to come off as well. So I'm gonna put this in my bag here that's specific for the SAP. Okay, this will now slide off. I want to be careful of the components and of the wires. So I'm going to be delicate and just shift this out. There we go. And there we are. One SAP. Okay. Gonna set this down over here carefully. All right, we're gonna cover that. I have these very fine microfiber cloths that I'm using to cover these components just to keep them clean. Okay, SAP is off. Let me grab that last washer. This is there we go. Last washer in your bag. I'm gonna label that with a marker. Place it over there with the SAP. Okay. SAP is out. And now we're going to move. Okay, these are all the way out right now. We're going to push these in. I think I have to tap them with a mallet. I'm going to continue with the manual. And these have to go in. The 2621 bulletin does not say exactly where the neutral position is. Now, I remember in another bulletin, or maybe later on in the 2621, I have to verify, neutral should be in the center. So I'm just using one of the bolts that came out that was holding the SAP in. Okay, that's in. Okay. That's the middle. That's out. That's in. Okay. They're supposed to be all the same distance relative to the plate. These two are in good shape. That's in the neutral position, and that's in the neutral position. All right, so yeah, we're good. Now, when you push these in, you're going to see some of the components on the gear side moving in and out. So if you're struggling to move any of these in and out, you'll see you can actually push a little bit from the backside and get some of that movement as well. So these are all in their appropriate position. Now we need to go to the other side, and we're going to start taking our gears off. And for that, we're going to need quite a few of our special tools that came in the kit. This is one of them. This is a reassembly part. This is one of the tools for reassembly. It's basically a punch. Actually, no, I take that back. I will need to hammer in some of these gears just a little bit to take off the snap rings that are on some of those. Actually, yeah, these will be used. All right, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to start gathering up all of our tools, keep everything handy, and we're going to start taking the gear set apart. Okay, just as an intro, first thing we're going to do, step one, is to remove the 7th speed gear. This just slides off. All right, nice and easy. I'm not doing it yet. I'm just showing you what we have to do. This is the 4th, 3rd, and 1st gear shaft. And this is the 2nd, 6th, 5th, and 7th speed secondary shaft. So we are going to use up here the 8630. This is the 8630. I wrote it up on the top. We're going to need to hit this to give a little bit of clearance so I can get the snap ring off right here. We're going to do the same thing with the 8616 tool down here to get this snap ring off. That will enable us to remove these associated gears. That will be step one. I will get that done, and maybe I'll show how we're going to hit this and move this in. But for starters, 7th gear comes off, and then 8630 and 8616. All right, so this ring is tight in here because this gear is pushed up against it. So very carefully, I'm going to put this over. I'm going to use my rubber mallet. Make sure this is flush. Couple of taps. That should have loosened it just enough. Yep, there we go. Now these things are pain in the butt. There. There's our Seeger ring. I'm going to put that down and catalog that. I'm going to need a puller to get this one off. But we're going to do the same thing down here with the 8616. Just give a little clearance. I don't think that it can come off now. Let me see how tight this is. Yeah, that's a little snug. Okay, so we're going to give that one a couple of hits too. 8616. Okay. As my stomach's growling, letting me know it's lunchtime. And my phone's ringing. Okay. Now that I took that phone call, oh yeah, see, this is nice and easy now. There we go. Okay. Now you'll notice these rings don't have the pins, the pinholes. So if you're using these, won't work. You're going to need the ring removers that are flat, can go between and push out. Like that. Okay. Yep. So we're going to pull this off. We're going to pull this off. And once I get everything set up, I'll show you the next step. We're now going to take off the first speed gear right here. We're going to put our bushing, which was part of, actually this is used in numerous things. We're going to put this right here. And then we're going to use a puller. And this doesn't require some kind of crazy puller, all right? There's nothing about this that's proprietary. One thing that is important is some of those pullers have adjustable arms where you can adjust the angle of the puller. Hold on, I'm screwing in this center rod. I need to get it to connect with the bushing. Oh yeah, I got my circlip still on there too. I put it on there so I can keep track of it. I have to get that off. That's okay. I'll give it a moment. All right, getting closer. Getting closer. I know my hand's kind of blocking the view. I'll show you what I'm doing here in a moment. Some people that I have spoken with really make it clear that you need to use a 3-jaw puller on this. Others have said it's fine with a 2. I tend to agree that it is fine with just 2. So that's what I am using. There you go. There's, I believe that is the AV8613. You know what? I actually just realized I made a map. When you buy the tools, it has, as an example, our these tools for either hammering on a bearing or tapping this in so you can remove it. Anyway, this entire kit, it seems like people have a bit of a misunderstanding as to which number is which. So I have identified, I made a picture of the kit laying flat and all the numbers associated with that. I'll add that to my PDF. That's a good idea. Okay. Reposition the camera here. Okay, good. So this is on. Let me remove that circlip. Okay. Figures I can't get it around the shaft of the the puller. This particular puller is using a 22 millimeter. Big deal. It's not going to take much for this to go. There we go. It's already coming out. And that's that. Easy peasy. Take our cap off. Put our puller back. And then this just slides right off. There we go. And there's your first gear. One thing that I like to do is to take a Sharpie and I just put a mark for the sides that face outwards towards me. That way I know which way goes which. Some people just put them down on their desk or on a table. The way that they're going to put them back, so maybe they're going to put it down like this, and they're just going to slide it right back on again. I like to keep them like that. So there's the ring, and I'm going to do the same thing on this gear. So I know that goes outwards towards me. Okay. Okay, we got to retrieve the roller bearing in the rings. Roller bearing. Marker. This is actually pretty dark. It's going to be hard to see that. Yeah, I can see it. Okay. And our rings. Okay, good. I'm going to put this right back on the first gear inside of my plastic storage bin that I got over here and rest it right back inside the way that it's supposed to be. Next step is to remove the 7th gear. I've already put on our 8613 bushing, and I already have our puller on there. Same thing as before. This is not going to take much pressure to let go. Let's see, we already have movement. It's going to be kind of a quick release here. There it is. Okay. And I have the circlip right here. Put the bushing back up on the top. And this is important. All of these pieces need to go facing the same exact way. Here's my marker. Marked for the outside. Okay. And there's our 7th gear. Going to put those together. We're going to remove the same rings here, just like we did for the other set. So I'm turning this over, putting this back inside. We're going to grab our rings carefully. We're going to put these right back over the top and lock them into place. And there we go. There's our entire 7th gear. This is the AV 8627 extractor tool. This is to remove the shim. Let's see if I can angle you down. There we go. That's a little better. We're going to remove this shim off of the shaft. To do so, we have to actually grab onto it and pull. There's a little lip right here. You can see it spinning. That lip has to sit inside of the recess of this tool. And then we are going to put on, again, our puller. What did I do with the bushing? Oh, there it is on top. We're going to put our bushing on here, and we're going to grab onto these edges with our puller, and we're going to remove that. Now, I don't like too much metal on metal, so I don't like sliding this on. So I'm going to take these bolts off. This might be a little bit finicky here, but see what we can do. Okay, I'm going to leave the bolts in the actual hole. I'm not going to take the bolts out. There's a couple little plates in here, and those plates have to stay. Okay, my bolts are completely loosened. I'm going to take these apart. These shims are probably going to come off. Yeah. Shims here, these have to stay with the tool. So let me push these bolts back in to hold those shims in place. A little finicky. There's one. Let's do the other side. There's two. Okay. Let's make sure we have our angle appropriate here. Okay, there's one. Yep, that's on good. And then there's two. Let's grab my socket. Just gonna hand tighten this just to get it going. A couple of videos I've seen have the transmission case up on a stand by now. I don't have to do that. It makes it easier. Yes, I will not deny that. I'll show you why. Get a little further along. Let's get underneath. Okay, that one's tightening a little bit. Good there. Now let's get these here on this end. All right, I'm going to adjust this. You get the idea. I'll turn the video back on and record it once this is ready to pull this off. So this is a little frustrating, I guess. This is a Chinese-made tool set. Nothing wrong with that, mind you. What I'm saying is this is not authentic. The entire sleeve here that we're trying to remove is 40 millimeters in outer diameter. The shim on the back that we're grabbing onto with that lip is 41 millimeters. And yet this is milled 40 millimeters the whole way. So I actually had to get out a small carbide tip on my rotary tool and grind away a little bit of the back so it fit. It worked, but I'm going to take this to a machine shop and have a half a millimeter on each half round of both sides to equal that 1 millimeter so it's correct. But well, that's what we get. Anyway, this one here has a little more pressure and takes a little extra work. Get it off. There's a point when it's going to pass over that outer sleeve and just get really loose. So I'm anticipating that this puller is just going to snap off here. I'm being careful of that. Okay. There it goes. Okay, there's my bushing, and okay, rock and roll. Okay, I just completed a very important step, and the camera died, so I didn't get a chance to actually explain how this works. So, TI 2621, page 10 in the manual that I'm going to supply. You have to wrap this whole area right here. This is the first through third gear synchronizer and the relative fork. So I used these microfiber cloths, and the reason the reason why you have to do this, there are green clips, 3 clips, 1, 2, 3 green clips. And then here, here, and here, there's a spring that goes inside and then a little ball. And if you push on this rod from the back and this comes out, everything goes everywhere. That's why they tell you to wrap it. Now, they tell you in the manual, yeah, see, some people are doing this with it vertical. Right, so this is facing upwards, but then you're going to lose your springs or your balls, and probably not the clip. But this is what the clip looks like. That's the ball, and here's the spring. So understand that if you don't do this according to the manual, you don't wrap this to catch these parts as this comes out, they're going to go everywhere, like far. So pay really close attention to how this is done. Now, if you push on this rod from the back and pull at the same time, see how this comes out? I already have these parts out. If I didn't do that, everything would have come out and just flown across the room. So there you go. Those are out. That over here for my storage. We're going to take a rubber band and by this stage we are now at 2621 page 13. Fit the elastic band to keep the interlock raised right here. So we're just going to put an elastic around this and then around here. That's it. Keep that raised. Now, we are at the point where we can really take some guts out of here. All right. With the gearbox still in the horizontal position, simultaneously remove the odd gear primary shaft, 17, right here, and the 5th through 7th gear synchronizer, 18, right here, and the 5th speed gear, 19, which is in the back, right over here. This all comes out. And there goes my crowbar. Comes out together. Okay. I'm going to keep this together. Here. Okay, and there we go. Now, if you're doing the weep hole leak, here's your culprit. Where's my headlamp? Where is my headlamp? Ah, it's inside getting charged. See this shaft coming down right here? That's the weep hole. Comes down here. So there's two gaskets, and you've got the bearing here in the middle. One gasket is right on the outside. You can just about see it. Shoot, you know what? Maybe stop this video and I'll get the camera and I'll show you again. But here, this is one gasket we're going to replace, and then the one on the other side as well. So we need to separate the SAP shell right here, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But anyway, I was quoted over $9,000 from Mercedes to I don't want to say rebuild necessarily, but to get to these seals, to replace them. This is the actual weep hole leak. It's kind of a big deal seeing this, you know. Before I go changing anything in here, I'm going to make sure that I document, should I be able to find the exact cause of the leak, whether it's a rip, a tear. I understand in the bulletin it says a misalignment of the radial shaft bearing. So, not quite sure. There's a lot of play in that there. I don't know. Anyway, I'll get a flashlight. I'll show a little bit more about what we're doing here. So anyway, we're on the gearbox side. Okay, the side over here is the gearbox side. The other side is the clutch side. So you're going to have your clutch fluid on that side. You're going to have your gear oil on this side. We need to make sure that the clutch fluid stays on the other side. What leaks out is actually clutch fluid. It leaks through the back seal, comes down into the bearing here, and then it goes down the weep hole. And, you know, a drop or two, from what I understand, is fine. But anything more than that, when it comes pouring out and you see it pooled on the bottom underneath your car, that's a problem. So $9,500 or so is what I was quoted from Mercedes-Benz to do this. About $300, I think. Don't quote me. I think a little over $300 in seals and some spare parts to do this myself. I also had to buy about $3,000 worth of tools, including 1, the lift to get the car off the ground, 2, the transmission jack, the tool set that contains things like that. Lots of different sealants and lubricants are included. Now, you know, didn't cost me $9,500, and I get a chance to get in here and really get a chance to understand how this whole works and share this with everybody else. So anyway, going to do some more evaluating, and we'll go from there. All right, here we are. We are inside the gearbox side. This is the radial shaft seal on the gearbox side. The other side is the clutch side radial shaft seal. And there's your bearing. This is the channel for the weep hole, and it comes down and goes to the weep hole right underneath the casing here. So any clutch fluid that seeps through that radial shaft seal gets inside where the bearing is and leaks out the weep hole. The whole purpose of that weep hole is to say, hey, you've got a leak. There are So I have to put a special tool on here to remove this. And then we're going to remove the SAP shell from the back. And then this will allow me to take the entire case off and then get to both seals. So before I actually go and modify anything, I'm going to record a very in-depth video of what it is that I'm seeing and why and what this whole weep hole issue is, at least from my observations. But I will say the transmission is super, super, super clean. I'm not seeing any kind of burn marks on the gears or on the synchronizers. All the parts are pretty good. And the oil was definitely changed fairly recently. It was quite clean. So anyway, there you go. All right, we're going to use this blind hole bearing puller set. This is, gosh, I hope I have enough threads. This is actually really, really close. So put the puller in through the center hole of your seal, and then when you tighten this individual rod, it spreads. See these holes right here, these slots. It spreads it out because there's a pointed bolt shaft that goes through and pushes it out. And this is, I have to improvise because this is a 24 millimeter nut on here, and I only have a 22 millimeter wrench available right now, so I'm not using an adjustable wrench. That's fine. But anyway, I hope I have enough threads on this to get this bearing out. I mean, it's coming out. But I'm running out of threads. Might just get it out. Yeah, here we go. It's getting loose. We're getting towards the end. Oh, there's my 24-inch wrench. It's over on the other bench. Well, that's okay. We'll just continue this way. There we go. All right, I can pull this out now. There we are. Okay. What a relief it is to actually get to this. Oh yeah, I got a tear. Yep. I don't know. Well, let's see. Let me get this off the shaft first and I'll show you what's going on. I want to be careful because okay, there we go. All right, let me put this back in its kit. This is it. There's a little spring that holds this together with even form. See, look at that. Now this could very well have happened when I just took it out. But this has a little shredding to it. Now I wonder. Look at that. There's the ring. Right there. Yeah. Seen a couple of things here. But anyway. This bearings, or the seal is shot. Now my guess is, well, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that's, it's very possible that from constant hot, cold cycles over the course of 70,000 miles that this just kept on getting pressed out by this bearing sliding the way that it is. No, look at that. All right, there's our ring. That ring So when this was in there, this is in its channel. I noticed that the top of that ring was shifted out a little bit. Is it possible it was out? Well, I don't know. Not sure. Where's my pick? There we go. All right, we can't lose that. This bearing should slide right out. Beautiful. All right, so this stuff here, retaining compound 648, making sure I got it in the video. Yeah, okay, 648. We're going to put this, when we're actually doing the repair, on the outside of this. And there's some really cool YouTube videos. How am I doing on time? Yeah, this is a longer segment. There's some really cool YouTube videos that show how that compound will lock these bearings in place. Now, so this seal was, hold on, one thing I didn't do yet, and I do this for everything. The side that was facing out, magic marker, harmless, black mark, out, always out towards me. Always, always, always. I don't think it actually matters with this particular bearing. It seems like it's symmetrical from side to side, but I want to put it back exactly as it came out. So that bearing is not supposed to be sliding back and forth like that. And over time, it definitely pushed on this, and the seal lost its seat. Now there should be a little tiny hole that goes down. Where is it? There's a tiny hole that goes down to the weep hole shaft right here. My guess is it's this reservoir right here. Yeah. Yep. So this is bulbous. Here, actually, let me move the camera. This is bulbous in the bottom, and this is where the channel is. And right here, there's a recess. And that recess allows fluid to leak down to the weep hole. I'm actually kind of tempted to drop a little bit of fluid in there and to make sure that's where it goes down, because I'm curious how that particular leak works and how it goes down that channel. I might even do that. Oh. Anyway, not good. That bearing is not supposed to be sliding back and forth like that. All right, I'm going to do some more investigating, trying to get everybody the best angle here as possible so they can see what's going on. Yeah, hang tight.